Let's get to our next guest. Channel 7 footy reporter has been out on the beat as he always is today. Mitch Cleary is his name. Mitch, thanks for your time.
Good afternoon, guys.
Biggest story of the week, perhaps the year, has been Taron Thomas, his behaviour and in particular the club's handling of it. You would have been down to the club. What's the mood at North Melbourne?
I haven't actually been down there, but no, it's a pretty dejected North Melbourne dealing with something like this at the moment. Kane, he's taking time away right now, and there's no definitive timeline on when he'll be back. I know you've been strong on this and the actions and the allegations around Taron Thomas right now, and you have to question why it's taken the second round of allegations to come forward around Taron Thomas as to why he's taken leave now and not earlier when it was first put to the club and the AFL integrity unit.
Do you think the club should have spoken, and have you asked them to go on camera for you?
I haven't personally. We have. It's been more our other reporters at the top end of the news. This is such a serious story, Kane, that Channel 7 and our newsroom's been treating it, at the top of the news bulletin as opposed to the sports, segment of the news. So I haven't. We have. All North Melbourne is doing right now is putting out two separate statements by their president, Sonia Hood, and that's all they're saying at this stage, but I know those questions definitely have been asked.
Where does the story go from here? I guess unless there's any further revelations, we await on the court case.
We do. So there's a few different separate matters. So the one right now, Gerard, before the courts is the charge that Taron Thomas has been charged for of threatening to distribute an intimate image, and that will go before the courts soon. And then there's the allegations made separately to the AFL integrity unit, which they've now passed on to Victoria Police. So we wait to see what comes of those, if anything comes from the Victoria Police, whether Taron is charged, whether they're thrown out, whether the AFL takes it upon themselves to take the matters further. So that's where it sort of sits at the moment, a little bit of a holding pattern, and I guess before, as you mentioned, any other allegations come forward. And
you've got some exclusive pictures tonight on 7 of James Sicily getting in a scuffle, just to let everyone know he wants to be captain.
Yeah, he's been the hothead of recent years, and everyone at the Hawks tells you that he's matured, and that's sort of gone out of his game. But, yeah, you might have to tune in tonight to 7 News. He gets involved in a little bit of a scuffle with a younger teammate at training down in Gippsland. So the Hawks down there as part of their pre-season camp. One to watch. I think he's still, the short price favourite to be captain, but it shows that if it doesn't change his spots, he's still got a little bit of fire in the belly, James Sicily.
Give us a hint as to who he was scuffling with.
He might have been a young forward who has a brother on a list and it may be a premiership player at another club.
Okay. All right. Well, we have to tune in to Channel 7 to have a look at that. So there's a number of captaincy calls. One of those is Hawthorn, as you mentioned. You don't think that will affect his chances, and I don't either. I actually don't mind players getting in a scuffle pre-season. I think it's good. But the Essendon, Fremantle, Adelaide still got some decisions to make. Geelong, albeit there was a fake tweet that got a few people sucked in about Dangerfield captaining the Cats tonight.
Yeah, those Geelong fake tweets have been doing the round since last finals, Kane, so they catch a few people out. The Dangerfield one is fascinating. I think it's down to 3, Blitzarves, Dangerfield and Tom Stewart. Had you asked me 6 months ago, I would have thought Tom Stewart was well and truly in front, but there has been a push for Blitzarves and Dangerfield in the last few months. Steve Hocking and Simon Lloyd, the two big decision makers, along with Chris Scott down there, have just come back from holidays in the last sort of week. So I think they might take a little bit longer than other clubs to make a decision around their captaincy. Essendon, you'd think down to McGrath and Merritt. The others, Fremantle, they've got a decision to make. Noise out of the Dockers is they might go away from Matt Fyfe, maybe Alex Pearce or Andy Brayshaw. The Crows have got a few different to consider. And then the Lions as well is another one that's sort of gone on great. I know you'll speak to Harris Andrews on the program, but he, along with Hugh McCluggage, I think will put their hand up with Dane Zorko, maybe even in a co-captaincy environment at the Lions.
Now, we know Sauce has moved down to St Kilda, but evidently he's running his eye over the Carlton reserves.
Anthony Caminiti, his name is, Gerard, a 19-year-old key forward. He's about 196, 197 centimetres.
Yep.
He's going to train with them over the next fortnight. They've lost Max King for the start of the season, Jack Hayes for the start of the season, their mature age player that sort of burst onto the scene last year, and then Matthew Allison, who showed some good signs before Christmas. So they're looking for some key forwards, and Sauce has gone to the Carlton VFL to see if he might be able to pluck one in the last 2 weeks before the deadline to sign these young rookies.
So when's that? About the 15th of February?
Yeah, it is. So clubs who have list spots available can add players who have been overlooked in the draft by February 15. But what a lot of clubs will do will actually leave that spot open to the mid-season draft. We've seen so many players sort of emerge in the first 3 or 4 months of the state league competitions in recent years, like the Marlon Pickett's of the world. And clubs will be, backing themselves in that they might have a bit more flexibility come mid-season and leave a spot open rather than have to fill their required list right now.
And Kane, you were talking about an injury down at the Bombers.
Yeah, what's happened with Jake Stringer? Look, I thought he came back. He looked unfit, which isn't uncommon for Jake. Then he was supposedly looking good and played well in an internal match, Mitch, but now he's got a back issue.
Yeah, he's got back soreness right now, Kane, and he sat out today. In isolation, that wouldn't be much of a drama, but I'm with you. I think before Christmas, the groins were still sort of hanging around. He was on limited duties sort of in November, then started to train more as the pre-season progressed through December, but he hasn't sort of been able to put it and string on a lot of, pardon the pun, a lot of pre-season sessions together. So bit of a watch on Jake Stringer heading into round one. I've got no doubts he'll be there, but it's just a matter of whether he can have that midfield explosion or whether he's sort of closer to goal and his fitness might hamper him having a full impact on a game like he has in recent times.
Surely Brad Scott's just going to say, you've got to be 100% before you play.
Yeah, I think so, but we've seen players, Dustin Martin last year. I'm not saying Jake Stringer's Dustin Martin, but he wasn't at full fitness and, you saw him play closer to goal and play as more of a forward. Do we see that with Jake Stringer rather than, that contract that he got a few years ago and when he was at his best is when he played forward but was able to go through the midfield for 5-7 minutes a quarter. So maybe Brad Scott might be a little bit hampered with Jake Stringer to start the season as to what he does with his magnet.
Is Cozzy Pickett the biggest name to watch on the trade table this season?
Yeah, I think so, along with Tom De Koning at Carlton. I know you've been red hot on this for the best part of 12 months now, with Curnow and Mackay signing at Carlton on big long-term deals. Tom De Koning will command good dollars, upwards of probably $700,000 on the open market, Kane. And with their salary cap right now, he's definitely one to watch, especially with clubs in the need for a ruck forward like he is. And then there's obviously that pull down the Surf Coast where he spends a lot of time over the summer with his brother and his family down in Torquay. I think they've got a house down there and spend a lot of time down the Surf Coast. So he is one. There's a few others. Darcy Parish is a free agent. Ben Mackay is one to watch at North Melbourne. Just a matter of how North Melbourne go this year, I reckon, could sway Ben Mackay's decision as to whether he looks for a big club and goes hunting free agency money, which I wouldn't shock me in that department either.
Gerard likes him as a player. He thinks he'll be in demand at a couple of clubs. Just what's Cozzy Pickett worth to get him out of Melbourne?
To get him out, probably around that $750,000 a season. I know it's big money for a small forward, but he's a game changer, and clubs will pay overs to get a player like him out of their club. Where do you sit on him?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Thanks, about right.
WA or SA?
Flip a coin. I know he spent the last sort of time of his junior career in SA. He played rep footy for South Australia before he was drafted, but he has got strong links back to WA and spent most of his childhood in WA, Cozzy Pickett. So flip a coin. I think this goes a bit wider than just that traditional go-home factor like we saw last year with Luke Jackson, in that, it was down to the Eagles and Dockers. I think there could be 4 clubs coming hard for Cozzy Pickett, and I don't think it would be too much of a shock to see him go one way or the other.
No, you're a busy man. We appreciate your update tonight, Mitch, and we'll tune in to Channel 7 to find out who that player, James Sicily, gets into a scuffle with. #exclusive.
Thanks, guys.